Let me get to the video because otherwise. Oh,
Yeah, because we're totally time to be serious with the flashy mohawk on your
yeah,
head.
let's can we please be serious, guys?
That ship has sailed.
You know what you get when you come here. All right. So, anyways, you were saying what can we expect from this video again? You said
So,
video.
what I was saying is that we've been sitting on this story for quite some time. People may remember a while back you and I were streaming together, and you mentioned, I think, God of War came up, and I mentioned how don't
Oh
get me
yeah,
started on
you're
God
like
of
I got
War,
something, but I can't
and
talk
then
about it
said I
right
couldn't
now.
say anything. This was that. Um, Again, I want to make this all clear because this is an insider who's come to us before, and we trust everybody who watches this, unless you're like fully like, yeah, I trust what's going on here. Take it as a rumor, because not my goal to push things and say, oh yes, it's 100% factual, but we believe in this source. We back them 100%. So we've known for a while this was a thing, and basically, yeah, so we finally got permission to move forward with it, and we got permission to move forward with it yesterday. And I'm like, well, after I just pulled that giant April Fool's prank, I really don't think it's a good idea to put it out on April 1st. I don't think people will fall. I think people might not like that.
Mhm.
So we're gonna wait.
That was smart, by the way, because I realized YouTube is a dangerous place on April 1st, and I personally found out on the day before April 1st as well, as you know.
Yep.
So nobody believes anything, and I can prove that because when I posted my Carl Jobst video on April 1st, I had a number of comments to the point where I had to pin my own comment telling people this is not an April Fool's video. This is actually real. He actually lost. So yes, no matter how authentic and real it sounds, people on April 1st are just like, yeah, I don't believe you. So good move to wait. Okay.
I do.
I do wonder if BBC is avoiding because of YouTubers.
Hello, and what is going on, everybody? It is Master of the TBS, and I'm joined by my lovely wife,
Writing Raven.
Welcome back to Gothic Therapy. Our Sweet Baby Inc. insider has come forward with some very interesting information involving Sweet Baby Inc. And this time, it involves Sony. At GDC, Kim gave a talk about artificial intelligence in gaming, saying...
All right, so question. This is at Bagel of Death. So this is on X.
So I made this image you're looking at. I made it. I got the quote and I put it in here. So funny enough, it's actually, they are very clearly aware that they're actually, I didn't even mention this. They're running interference for Sweet Baby Inc. Anything that's mentioned from them specifically.
Who's they? GDC?
Well, I forget exactly where it was from. I think it was from maybe a Variety article. I don't know if it was Variety, so don't quote me on that. It was a VIP article that you had to pay for to get. So I grabbed it and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? Okay, silly image of Kim, check. Quote, check. Tag, check. And then that's what I did. So,
gotcha. It says there is, unfortunately, a lot of prioritization of shareholders and of money over the employees who make the games. We want to use AI to expand access.
They basically want inclusion.
Yeah, but using AI for that.
Yep.
So they want to manipulate AI to Marxism instead of capitalism.
Kim, I'm just going to say this point blank, and I usually never try to say this. I try to be very nice. Kim's nuts. She's nuts. Okay? I'm sorry. I've been watching, as I said, I've been finding, don't even ask me how I find this stuff, but not only has she done podcasts, she's also done a ghost stories thing. Don't even ask how I find these things, okay? But yes, she did do these ghost story things. I have those. But she's a nutcase, okay? You'd think after her saying, to terrorize them with the possibility of what's going to happen if they don't give you what you want, you'd think she wouldn't double down on it. She literally does. But she doesn't. In one of the videos that I have, she literally says, point blank, she says, I will instill fear in them. I will instill fear. So tell them it's going to be bad if you don't do what we say. And I'm like, wow, you're just nuts.
Kim preaching inclusivity with AI is pretty rich.
When the biggest name in gaming might be cutting ties with her company in
Notice, this is the concerning thing. Why can't you just let AI be? They always want to influence it from a political narrative and say, no, AI needs to have this political injection to it instead of just letting it be. You ever notice that?
I don't know. I think that it's another one of those things where it's okay when we do it kind of thing. So it's like they'll scream and shout about anybody who uses AI to make games or whatever. And look, I'm not advocating for or against that. I'm saying, that it's niche applications, but like here they're like, well, if we're going to do this, we should do it in a way that benefits us. So we should be using AI to get more diverse voices into the room. And it's like,
but it's interesting how the conversation has changed from AI is bad to AI is good if we use it to push DEI.
Yes, exactly. That's what's funny is it's okay if it's a tool for what they want it to be. A source we've fully verified, someone who's given us solid info in the past, reached out.
So I saw someone in the chat earlier asking this. How did you find this source? Did you reach out to them first, or did they reach out to you first, or how did it come to be that this source connected with you?
I cannot say.
Fair enough.
Sony has started canceling projects that had Sweet Baby Inc. attached.
We don't know every project, and we can't confirm each title independently, but the source was very clear. These cancellations weren't random. They were deliberate.
If a verified insider isn't enough for you, that's fine. Treat it like a rumor. But we stand by the source 100%. And what they told us tracks with what's been happening behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Back in January, multiple reports surfaced that Sony was quietly canceling half a dozen in-development games. Titles weren't named, but they were described as major projects, some already years into development.
And this wasn't just casual restructuring. These were deliberate, targeted cuts. Projects that were already...
Yeah.
Rewind just 1 second so you can see that title. That title, I don't know if it was intentional. That's great.
I didn't even read that. Has Concord scared Sony straight? Oh my God.
And how much DEI was in that and how much they pandered to the LGBTQ in that.
Oh, that was
very funny. It's a really good title.
That's not written by accident. My question to you is, who wrote that?
I can't say for certain. I'm pretty sure that might have been Jason Schreier.
It's Paul Tassi.
Okay, I knew it was either Jason Schreier or Paul Tassi. So that was my second guess. If Sweet Baby Inc. was embedded in any of those titles, Sony may have finally decided it wasn't worth the risk.
And it gets even juicier.
According to our insider, Sweet Baby Inc. was involved in a follow-up to God of War Ragnarok. Whether that was a DLC, a spin-off focused on Atreus, or even a full sequel, we can't say for sure. But what we do know is this: that project may no longer be moving forward.
And it wouldn't be their first time. Sweet Baby Inc. had narrative involvement in Ragnarok itself.
I do wonder, kind of off topic, but still on topic. But with the whole game industry right now in the cluster that it's in, and you see Nintendo jacking the prices up to insane amounts outside of Japan to everyone else in the world. And then you see Sony cutting these projects. It almost feels like these are the rumblings and whispers of the major companies, sending out smoke signals to tell everyone, hey, by the way, gaming in the industry is a complete shit show right now. And we're doing our best to survive the landscape, but yikes, we can't. It's that the economics of gaming don't make sense anymore. Like for AAA studios, you know what I mean? Like if you can make a great AAA game like Nintendo can, sure, you will survive. Or Sony can if they do it right, or Microsoft can. Sure. I mean, you got Capcom too with Monster Hunter. Yes, it can happen. But if you miss, Ubisoft comes to mind, it destroys 20,000 jobs in an instant. That's a very high risk, high reward environment. And it makes you wonder if Sony's cutting because they realize that they have to start adjusting to survival right now. And if that's the case, bringing it back to Sweet Baby Inc., they're fully recognizing that Sweet Baby Inc. is actually the poison for their games.
Yeah, and also it wouldn't surprise me, and again, I didn't get confirmation about this from the source, but it wouldn't surprise me if one of the things that spurred this on was the failure of Concord, because that was a really, really big thing they were banking on, and it fell like so bad.
So
And
bad.
at that point, you kind of have to look at that. I mean, even if you're like all for DEI and you're all for pushing that stuff, when something like that happens and it fails that spectacularly, because to be honest, the game itself wasn't spectacular, but how it failed was spectacular. Like,
Well,
it
because
was
the
out
game
there.
itself, I mean, full disclosure, I never played the game. So take this with a grain of salt as far as my experience with it, but I watched plenty of videos. I watched plenty of gameplay of it. I spoke to people directly who played it. And the overall perception that I gathered was, yeah, it's a hero shooter, and it's quite generic. There's nothing special about it that stands out. So what is the explanation behind the near $500 million investment in this game, that there are other games that are free to play that are, by all accounts, better games? that's a
Yeah,
what, how did we
exactly.
get
There
to
was
that
nothing about
price?
it that made it unique.
Right, right. So I think you're right about saying Concord might have been the starting point for
Yeah, because if you
these.
think about it, a failure on that scale with that much money behind it. I mean, as I said, even if you're really pro DEI, you kind of have to go, okay, wait, we're clearly, even if they're like, really invested, it really slaps you in the face and goes, okay, this needs to stop. We need to make money now. We put a
Yep,
lot of money, and this did not work. We can't do this anymore.
that's fair.
And that's one of the contracts Sony just axed, then Sony might have pulled the plug on a flagship project because it had the Sweet Baby stink all over it.
So, what does this actually mean?
It could mean the industry is finally pushing back. That after all the narrative meddling,
Is this the video you were referencing?
yeah, look, see, GDC.
Is this
That's a
from
really
this year?
bad quality version of it, that one, but I have a better quality. So
Is this from this year?
no, that's from 2023. And at this moment, if you were able to play it with volume, Kim is answering a question as saying, what would Sweet Baby Inc. do in this situation? And basically is saying how they would tell them why this is not okay and you need to change it. And if they wouldn't change it, she would instill fear in them. Literally, those are her words. I would instill fear in them to make
Right.
them not want to go through with it. After all the consultant-driven homogenization,
I'm very curious to see their presentation from 2025. I'm like waiting on bated breath.
I'm sure it will come out eventually, but
Mm.
having even just from 2023 and 2024, it makes it very clear what this is. Honestly, it's crazy what this kind of thing is. You might think it's just them giving up there, whatever. No, it's like them listing certain scenarios and saying, let's say you're working in a company and they decide to make on a space game, and they decide to make one of the aliens with darker skin, and it's talking like a black person. What do you do? And literally, it's like asking each person how they would handle it. That is literally the entire thing. I kid
Yikes.
you not. That is the entire thing. It is gold.
Yikes.
Sony might be the first domino to fall.
If they're canceling SBI attached products quietly, what other studios might follow? What other consultants might suddenly stop getting calls?
We're not saying Sweet Baby Inc. is finished, but if they were part of a God of War sequel that got cut, that's not a trim. That's a power move. Sony might be sending a message. And we heard it loud and clear. The fight is not over. This is just the beginning.
And you better believe we'll be watching what happens next.
Because sometimes even the gods get dethroned.
And sweet babies get spanked.
I love that line.
That is great. That is great. Another fantastic video, man. That was great. I think this is very insightful for the main reason of, if Sony is making the move specifically because of Sweet Baby. They would never say they are. First off, they'd
They
never be like,
can't.
right. They could like sue them for that. But this could be a strategic move to be like, okay, we're going to start getting away from that kind of stuff, which means that the people up top at Sony that were making these decisions have now started to be overruled by potentially Sony of Japan. And when you have a massive flop like Concord, like you were saying, I feel like it does all go back to that, where they're like, yep, we did let you guys run your ship the way you were. And if you ever do that again, our company might be in danger of tanking. Like,
Yeah, because that's that again. We wouldn't have run with this otherwise if they hadn't made it clear that this was again. So it would not surprise me if there were a couple games that weren't Sweet Baby Inc. that were also along for the ride. But from what I was told, it was deliberate. Like they were like, no, we don't want these anymore. Like we can't do this. And the fact that one of them was a God of War game, which we can confirm because it was announced that there was a God of War game coming out and they canceled it. Whether that was the game with Sweet Baby Inc. or not doesn't matter, but it shows that they were canceling even that. And that's one of their like flagship.
well, I'd imagine it was working with Sweet Baby because they worked on the last one with them. Why would they not work with them this time?
Yes.
And either way,
and that's what
I'm
I'm saying.
Yeah.
Canceling something like that, a flagship title like that, there has to be a good reason. It's not just we decided not to. No. There has to be a reason. And the reception to God of War Ragnarok and then the reception of Concord and how that came out wouldn't surprise me if they're like, no. We did this enough. We're done. We were out of here.